welcome to the Upshot, multi-world disc golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield. It is Tuesday, March 25th. We are checking in following the MVP's Open at Austin, presented by Flight Factory. Nailed it. Josh, what's happening, dude?
Nothing much. Congratulations, because it turns out that was harder this weekend than it may have appeared. So nice job. It reiterates the fact that you get one title sponsor. Stop it. It's outrageous.
And MVP's Open at Austin, because they didn't want to call it MVP Open at Austin.
Stupid.
Oh man. All right. Well, we got so much to get into today. Really quick. See this cool disc right here? Crocal Open disc.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Tor, who sent this over.
Nice.
Appreciate it. Very cool. Crocal, was it number one course in the world this year? I think
it was.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
It's a great looking course. I want to play it.
Oh, yeah. Josh, how was your weekend, man?
Oh, it was good. I don't really know what I did this weekend. I can't really remember.
You know what? Sometimes that's what you want. Just chill time.
Yeah, so can't complain.
I got some disc golf in.
Nice.
27 holes up at FDR. Great times.
Nice.
On Sunday before I watched the final rounds. So
yeah, that sounds wonderful. It snowed here, so
just on the early side of spring here. So it's starting to be really nice to be back outside.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, of course, we had our rapid reacts. That was done on Sunday night. So definitely get yourself a subscription to check it out. A couple more weeks to lock in lower prices before subscription prices go up. And you can jump into the picks contest, get into the Discord, all that good stuff. And we did a nice big show on Open at Austin already. So now a chance to kind of dig a little deeper on some topics. And we are going to be, what do you think our whole spotlight's going to be this week, Josh?
Listen, I will be forever bitter that they took away the fact that I don't get to make hole 4 at Harvey Penick my whole spotlight. I love that hole. It's one of my favorites. I said it on the Rapid Reacts. I think it's one of the best par 3s out there. That isn't like a finishing hole. So I'm very impressed, and I'm very upset that we have to do this.
But it must be done.
It must be done.
The Sprinkle Valley hole 18 conversation it's ready to be done, right? This is the last we will speak of this. Yeah. But we have some data, some thoughts from players and commentators, some maps. We got a bunch of stuff. We're going to dig deep. But first, let's talk about the Finnish Cowboy, which, by the way, is now what he's going to be called. I don't really know that we had a good nickname for Nicholas Antila, but now he's the Finnish Cowboy. That's just it.
Yep. There were some, the Finns at Waco who are wearing the hats with the Finnish flags on. It was a sign.
Manifestation.
That's right. I don't know if they were at Open at Austin, but
it doesn't matter. They already brought it into the universe.
That's right. All it took was them being in the state.
So back-to-back wins for Nicholas in somewhat similar fashion. It goes to a playoff with Kyle Klein. So Nicholas versus Kyle, right? We see that last year too. Putt on 18 to determine the tournament. It wasn't quite as dramatic in some ways. Because Nicholas hadn't won on tour before last year, I feel like the weight, was getting dark. He had a longer, more difficult putt. Sure. Felt a little bit like a bigger deal. But obviously, going to a playoff, it's always going to be exciting. You got the Discmania boys going head-to-head down the stretch there. And then Gannon doesn't even end up being in the playoff.
Right.
Which, feels surprising. We talked a bunch about that on the Rapid Reacts. But Nicholas able to get past Kyle. And it's going to, with Nicholas coming in 5 strokes behind Klein to start the final round, Josh, it is going to feel like Kyle let this one slip away. If his putting had been better, really at any point during the weekend, he would have won this tournament pretty comfortably. But shout out to Nicholas, who just absolutely caught fire in that final round and put together a sparkling 12 down to go out and win this thing.
Oh yeah, Nicholas played just a heck of a round, and you can see Nicholas is one of those guys that almost feels like Macbethian a little bit when he gets in the zone. When Nicholas starts stringing together birdies, right? I think of USDGC that year that he took second. I think it was to Gannon, or was it to Kyle? Did he lose to Kyle at USDGC? Now I gotta look.
I might have been the year.
I think that might have been the year. What a battle. But like he locks in a way that like he gets hot and flies, and it really does. His ability to string together when he's in the zone is impressive, and that's this weekend. Just he was. Man, I just cannot get Ian saying unflappable like 17 times out of my head, but it's such a good description. So like that's how it felt. I mean, nothing could derail Nicholas, even when he had missed execution at a couple of points.
The Nicholas year was 2022. Gannon won. Kyle won in 2023, and recall that was Macbeth playoff.
That's right. It was with Macbeth. Yeah. Yep. You're right.
It's absolutely true. I mean, and the thing that's what I find impressive about watching Nicholas play is that he is so skilled at like executing the line when he's dialed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like beautiful tee shots. And that's whether it's like carving dead perfect like center cut on 18 twice, or it's throwing those crazy rollers early in the front nine to get birdies. It just has a deep bag and is able to, and it doesn't always bring it. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing about Nicholas. When you like look at his profile as a player over the last season, going back to the beginning of 2024, I mean, he's been awesome. Like he's been in the top 10 more than not.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 7 podiums in 2024 and 2025. And when he isn't playing well, he's not usually playing middling. He's either playing quite well and finishing in the top 10, or he's finishing outside the top 20. So if you take away his top 10s and you take away his 21st or worses, he only has 2 finishes between those ranges. He had a 19th at Waco this year, and he had a 20th at GMC last year. Otherwise, he's been 25th or worse. So he kind of, and some of that maybe is due to the distance cap, right? So like there's certain courses where maybe he's just probably not going to be able to really shred because he doesn't have the arm to get birdies on some of the holes. But obviously he has plenty of tour level distance, and when he is on and a course fits his style, he's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm just pulling up stats from last season to kind of go back to that, right? So Nicholas Antala was 3rd on tour. If you compare some of his stats with the guys around him, it becomes pretty apparent that distance is a limitation. He has, outside of Isaac Robinson, the worst parked percentage of anybody in the top 10. That's a lie. Paul Macbeth actually had a lower park percentage. After that, it was Nicholas. Circle 1 in regulation is the lowest out of anybody in the top 10. In Circle 2 in regulation, it is also one of the second lowest, it looks like. And so it's just clear that distance is his limitation. And if he doesn't learn to throw further, he is going to be ultra competitive on courses that don't have a premium on distance. And he is going to have off weekends when that distance is required. And it's not...
he's probably never going to get there, Josh, from like he's not going to be AB.
No.
I feel like honestly you're nitpicking a little bit. The guy finished 3rd on tour last year.
But you just highlighted, look at his drops, right?
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's very different than a guy like Gannon who's dropping 10th, right? Gannon is dropping 10th through 15th place. Nicholas is dropping 30 through 50th sometimes, right? And that's different. And you're right. You're right. Nicholas deserves a lot of credit for where he finished in the Pro Tour standings, because that's where the money matters. That's the strokes, the Pro Tour Championship. I hear all those things. But like, Nicholas will never be the guy with his distance limitations, right? He will never be the guy over Gannon.
Probably not.
Can he be an excellent next level up? Absolutely. And he shows that on multiple instances. But it's not just the ability to reach holes with, like, based on certain distance, right? Because there are plenty of guys who can't throw as far as AB. But it's also disc selection. When his competitors like Gannon are pulling out a putter, he's grabbing a mid. Or when Gannon's grabbing a mid, he's grabbing a fairway driver. And that control is going to give advantages to players with longer arms who are able to, the shot selection has a wider variety and more range to them. And that is a continuation of the limitation that Nicholas is going to experience with his current distance.
I think it's very interesting, looking at the stats so far from this year, because we can actually start to care about what the numbers are saying. Nicholas is 4th in Circle 2 in regulation. So he's... And these are the numbers that truly matter. Like, how much are you giving yourself birdie chances? Mm-hmm. He's 10th in C1. He's 2nd in fairway hits behind Vino. Shout out to the Finns and the gap hitting skills.
Can I make one point real quick though, Charlie?
Sure.
3 of our 4 courses that we've played are sub 10,000 feet.
100%.
Right. And so I agree the stats are valuable, but at this point in the season, that stat in particular might be favored towards someone
Waco
like
maybe is one of the friendliest, like, lower arm speed courses on tour.
Yeah.
And, Sprinkle Valley is not putting that much pressure on you either. So it just, I think he's a very interesting player. The feast or famine nature of his results plays really well into the Pro Tour standings, but it also makes you forget about him sometimes because he just won't be on coverage for a couple of weeks in a row or like a couple tournaments, and then you haven't seen him for a month. But then, boom, he's right back in the top 5. So pretty cool to go back-to-back at a tournament and to win it over 4 rounds and to beat out Gannon.
Yep. It's a legit win. Other advantage that he has, Charlie, a lot of our majors involve wooded courses or shorter technical courses.
As they should.
Right? As they should.
This is the kind of player that deserves to be highlighted because he has a pure set of skills on, like, gap hitting woodsy courses or park style courses. And if we make everything golf course bomber, sure, we can all enjoy watching AB throw massive drives. That should be rewarded too. But I think we have found at times that the tour underemphasizes the skills that a player like Nicholas brings to the table that should be tested.
Mm-hmm. The European Disc Golf Championship, is that what it's called this year?
Yes.
Okay. European Disc Golf Championship, USDGC, both of those are courses that Nicholas could absolutely win on.
Yeah, and like... Honestly, even European Open, right? I feel like he's got a chance
so too.
Out there.
Oh, yeah, he definitely has a chance. I don't know. I would consider him, like, not the favorite, but like a heavy contender in terms of best odds at those other 2. European Open, maybe a little bit more, neutral. I think that the arm does give you an advantage, but yeah, he absolutely could shred it at the European Open or the Worlds this year.
Right, Worlds. Yeah,
Worlds.
It's hard to keep it all straight. Really quick, let me tell you why I'm not worried about Gannon.
Okay.
Who has yet to win. We talked about this some in the Rapid Reacts, but just to follow up on that, he is currently 1st in both Circle 1 in regulation and Circle 2 in regulation.
Is that good, Charlie?
That's it. That's all you need to know. He's fine. Do not worry. Why is he not winning? Putter. He's 16th in C1X and 75th in Circle 2. He's at 18%. This is a 35% plus lifetime Circle 2 putter. He is a little off right now, and when he dials it back in, he is going to start winning tournaments. I guarantee it.
He needs to switch putters again.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not looking at individual rounds. I'm just looking at the aggregate stats. And when I am seeing somebody be first in the driving categories, it literally always correlates to wins long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're Evelina and Hannah.
Unless I'm dang it. I wasn't quick enough. Oh, shoot. Okay, Charlie. Well, speaking of FPO, I've got a question for you.
Hit me.
Is Holland Handley the for sure number 2 FPO player in the world?
PDGA rankings say otherwise. Ratings say otherwise.
Yeah. So PDGA rankings, for reference, have it going Kristen, Evelina, Owen, Holland. Remember that ranking, and I think
that is not updated since Austin, and I think Holland could pass Owen in the next update, but I'm not sure.
Fair. It's a 2-year look back, and it also includes majors pretty heavily. It heavily weights majors. So Evelina's World Championship, for example, is definitely playing a big role in that. I'm not saying that it's an incorrect ranking by any means. I'm just saying that's an important factor to be considering why Evelina's up there. On ratings, where's Holland? Is she third?
I forget.
Because Kristen is first and Owen is second.
Yep. I'm checking right now.
I'm going third. That's my gut.
That is correct. 986. Okay. Handley is third, 1 point ahead of Evelina, 2 points ahead of Missy. And then it's a pretty big drop off after that.
Okay. So yeah, you're right. The numbers don't. Well, our systems of classification don't say so. But.
Well, what I would say is remember that these systems are correctly trailing over a year or 2 year period.
Yes.
But if I am taking an odds, right, if I'm betting money on what will happen in 2025, I definitely think Holland has the most likely chance of beating out a Kristen or the other players for a Player of the Year award. Like, I think the odds for Pody goes Kristen, Holland, and then I genuinely don't know after that. Like,
I don't either.
I think probably you still put like Owen and Evelina there, and then Missy maybe dealing with an injury, latest reports, dealing with something with her shoulder. So that, she has not played super great to start the year, but, hard to project, right? She won it last year. And we know when they turn the money spigot up that she shows up. So,
right.
But to get back to your question, yes, I think we're seeing a new look Holland too. I think we are seeing a level of consistency from Holland that has not been there historically. She has started this year second, first. Like,
it's easy to forget.
It's easy to forget that she was second place the first 2 weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look back at like round ratings and stuff, let's just take a look at the round ratings so far from the tour this year. 1,007, 993. So over 1,000 rated at SFO. Then we go to Waco, where she shoots 983, 1016, 996. Quick math in my head, that's right at 1,000 basically.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to a admittedly, Sprinkle Valley. I feel like the ratings are a little suspect, but 986, 997, 1029, and then yes, obviously her worst round of the year in the final round, the 942. Barely held on to a 6-shot lead that it was basically immediately 8 strokes, and then almost gave it away, but didn't. And that, to me, is more important than anything else. I feel like we learned something new about Holland, which is that she was not afraid to face the mistakes and continue to fight through the errors and make some clutch shots and make some clutch putts, even as there were problems here and there. And I think it's fair to say that if Kristen had an A round for her, that it's probably not happening for Holland. She probably does lose. But Kristen was not super dialed either.
No.
And that opened the door for Holland to hold on to that lead. And I feel like this is a Holland Handley that would have completely fallen apart as recently as even 6 months ago in a similar spot.
Agreed. And to that point, there is no punishment to Holland for the fact that if the 1,000 rated player had played her 1,000 rated game, she would have won the tournament, right? Like, that does not take away from the fact that relative to the rest of the field, Holland is the best of the rest, right? Yeah, yes. Is Holland better than Kristen? No. Is if Kristen plays her A game, is Holland going to be able to withstand it, especially on the mental side of the game? Probably not. But that does not change the fact that when you take anybody else, everyone else also has glaring flaws, and Holland is making significant progress in hers. Statistically, Charlie, I think you get backed up here as well. Fairway hits, 78%, second. Parked, 12%, second. Circle 1 regulation, first. Circle 2 in regulation, second. Scramble, 7th. C1X, 10th. Circle 2 putting, 5th. OB rate, 3rd. Statistically, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Second, first.
Yep.
I'm curious to see how's her putting compared to last year.
This year, she has 76% from C1X and 20% from C2.
She was 81 and 20 last year. So, maybe a little early to say. And there's always like the wind, for instance.
The wind,
Waco,
I was literally thinking the same thing.
Completely screw up those C1 numbers. But pretty similar, right? Like, the game has been there for like 2+ years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been the decision making and the pressure mentality that has been the issue. How many times you go back a couple of years, and I feel like Des Redding was talking about this on the broadcast, and it almost feels like an out of date narrative to me that like Holland is like birdie or bogey, like crazy swings. Well, I think that used to be true because Holland would try some like not very smart shot selections, try to throw some roller thing from out of position, and then end up going out of bounds and taking like a triple, and like blowing up her round. But that's not the story anymore. Like, sure, she's going to mis-execute on shots sometimes, but more often than not, she's coming up with an answer. She's making a comeback putt. Her putt is way improved from where it was a couple of years ago. And the mentality, like I feel like you learn from these kinds of moments that you can beat Kristen when you're not playing your best. And everybody feels great when they're playing their best.
Sure.
When Holland birdied the whole back 9 in round 3, that was amazing. And like, you're untouchable in those situations. Right. How do you deal with the adversity? That is the challenge for so many of the FPO players. Kristen has been the best at dealing with it. And that's why, in part, I should say, why she's been able to withstand those poor stretches of play. Holland doing it this weekend, huge.
Yeah. To your point, the narrative, I think, is exactly the point you should be highlighting. Because if you just look at the scorecard, hole 4 to hole 14, she had no pars. She had 6 birdies. She had 3 double bogeys. She had 2 bogeys. Right? If you just look at the scorecard, you could easily look at that and say, "Oh, well, this is the exact same thing." Right? It hasn't changed. But to the point that you were making, I feel like a lot of those were less about decision-making errors. Right? Holland still does have an issue, especially with her forehand and her upshots when she gets nervous. And it means that she misexecutes and she puts herself out of position and she takes strokes because of it. but it's and she still has to continue to battle that and come back and learn how to address and deal with the mental game. But it's a different attitude than somebody who is like breaking down because of nerves and then compounds that with poor decision making. And I think, Charlie, that's the point that you're highlighting here, is that even in spite of her poor execution, her decision making remained relatively solid, and that is why she won this weekend. And a former year Holland would not have been as savvy with her decision making and would not have won this tournament.
I agree. I think it's a big win from the ability to deal with the adversity. Now, it must be said, she won this tournament certainly in part because of how much better she played hole 18 at Sprinkle Valley compared to Kristen, who got imploded by it twice. Let's dive into our hole spotlight for this week's DGPT event. Open at Austin. It is hole 18, Sprinkle Valley. And let me first put up if we're watching on the YouTube, how this hole was designed for last year at US Women's.
Real quick, Charlie.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I might.
You might.
Thank you. If you're not watching on YouTube, I want you to pause it and go watch it on YouTube. Like we have videos, we have graphics, we have maps we pulled from Reddit, we've got stats. Like this is a segment that is worth watching so you can see all of the information. So just pause real quick, go switch apps, switch over to YouTube, and take 10 minutes and just watch it on YouTube for a few minutes. All right, Charlie, please continue.
So in case you aren't watching on YouTube and you're ignoring Josh, which is fine. I do it all the time. No, I don't. You can see now the caddy book designs are a little different from each other, but you can see that last year on hole 18, that stretch from the bottom of the stairs up to the green was inbounds. Now it was, pretty narrow. That's not a super wide gap, but it was inbounds. Then what did they do? They clipped that inbounds area out. Everything from the stairs to the green was OB, and you had to cross inbounds on the island side, or you had to rethrow. I think you got 4 shots at it before you got to go to the drop zone. So like brutally punishing, way beyond even the stroke and distance rules for hole 17 at USDGC for the men. And keep in mind that for the FPO field, OB strokes, you immediately advance to the first drop zone and then the second drop zone. So there's like a mitigation in place on the iconic stroke and distance punishing OB shot that is hole 17 at Winthrop. So that change, Josh, took this hole from being the hardest on tour last year for FPO. I'm sorry, second hardest. The hardest was hole 6 at New London, averaged 1.65 strokes over par. Sprinkle 18 in 2024 was 1.61 strokes over par. Okay. Second hardest hole.
Like, depending on which players are taking the big numbers, borderline unacceptable. But like, if all the touring players are doing okay with it, then you can dig into the numbers, right? We need to look at that. But carry on.
This year, it played 3.18 strokes over par on average. A stroke and a half more difficult than last year, and basically the hardest hole we've ever seen on tour to par. I looked like Northwood Black, hole 12. Nothing really even comes close. And the best players, 940 plus rated players, were 2.75 strokes over par on average on this hole this year. Okay, so it's not like this was right.
An
example
to the point I just brought up.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It also was harder in MPO than any single hole in 2024, playing 1.19 strokes over par on average, which just edged out New London hole 6 from last year. Okay, so this was the hardest hole on tour for both MPO and then obviously much more notably for FPO. Before we talk about it, I want to play the clip here from Jomez. This is from the round 2 coverage of hole 18. And you're going to see Kristen playing the hole when she took another big number. And Erica Stinchcomb and Madison Walker talking about the hole in the Jomez clip. Here we go.
We have the staircase, the OB line at the base of that, forcing you to throw nose up and over the staircase to a blind island, as we affectionately call the Blyland. Not not the greatest course design for the players.
No, it's bad. It's not just not the greatest, it's bad.
It's not great. It's pretty bad.
It's
exciting.
No.
No, it's not exciting. It's horrible to watch, honestly.
We watched Kristen take an 11. It crushes souls. You can come in here shooting 1,000 rated round and then take a 12.
Kristen just slightly out of position here.
All right, Josh. So there's what they had to say. Not fans, it is fair to say. What do you make of their thoughts, and what do you think about this Sprinkle Valley Hole 18?
Well, they are spot on. If you do a little math, if you were to make this a par 7, 12 players would get birdie, and an additional 7 players would get par, and the rest would get bogey or worse. And I think what that highlights is sometimes, I mean, you have the idea of like, you know, the player rating and how they're doing, but it also can be like, if you have enough players who are taking double digits, or a couple of players who are just taking massive numbers, then that can also pull it up. More of the field took double digits than had bogey or better.
Bogey or better. Jeez.
Bogey or better.
Brutal.
This is, without a doubt, the single worst hole design we have ever seen in professional disc golf.
Wow, so you're coming in hot on it.
Horrific. Did anybody play this hole? Like, and it's like, I don't care, and I know like the tournament, I don't remember if it was Mint or the tournament director or the tournament staff or who it was, posted on Reddit, and they were like, well, you know, we have this, like the hill gets really slick when it's wet, and that zone in between the inbounds and the green becomes a pond, and like can have standing water, and so that can't be playable, and we can't anticipate the weather. And I hear all that, but did anybody play this hole? Did anybody play it and go, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. Like, this isn't fun. It's incredibly punishing. And we'll get to a little bit more on emails in a minute. But I do want to pull out a little segment. One of our listeners said that they were talking to some media, and the media person said, oh, you know, all you got to do is you throw your drive, you lay up, you intentionally blast one over the OB or over the green, you pitch up and you tap in. And it's like, can you imagine sitting down with your caddy and going, all right, the play here is we're just gonna intentionally blow it straight over the out of bounds or the green. We're making no attempt at actually touching in or landing in. We are just going for our bogey and we're done. What an awful hole design. If that's the game plan, if that's the meta succeeding, if that's the meta, like what a horrible, horrific addition to tour this hole was.
Well, here's my problem, okay? I get making a change to a hole.
Sure.
But why would you take a hole that already played as one of the very hardest holes on tour and say, let's make it way harder? That is just not smart. Like, and it's not like you need to be a rocket scientist to pull up the hole stats and say, like, how did it play? Oh, it played really, really hard. And so we wanted to make it even more hard. This clearly was done without consulting people, without thinking about how this would actually play for FPO. And it's a little funny. So, like, let's put up this whole map. This comes from the custom course maps guy. Yep. These are the best. So you can.
I cannot believe the Pro Tour doesn't do these.
I mean, maybe he wants $1,000 a hole. I'm sure that's not true. But so look, the distance really isn't the question here, right? Take a look at this elevation profile. So you can see you're
not obvious
much playing uphill the whole time. You have to get through these trees, and it's not super easy to get into a good spot with your second shot. A lot of times we were seeing players having to throw a third shot up to basically the base of the stairs, but you don't want to get too close to the stairs, because if you're too close to the stairs, then you have to throw two nose up, and it's really tricky. So
Especially
if you
in the wind.
right, and there's a headwind coming down this tunnel, it was borderline impossible to make a clean shot from there onto the green. And here's the problem that I have with it. So you can see, so you're in the position to throw this shot. You have a hill right in front of you, so you already have to get the nose up a little bit. You're throwing up about 10 feet of elevation, which isn't that much, but it's enough to force you to throw a little bit more nose up than maybe you would want to when you're trying to hit a very precise small target. And as a result, players continued to hit trees on it's like not a super wide gap. They were going short. They were, hyzering out early. Like, we saw tons and tons of problems and very, very few players getting a birdie. And my quibble is, why is there not an option for someone to play it for par? You're forcing people. Like,
There's no
on
decisions
hole
here.
17 at USDGC, if you want, you can pitch down 20 feet and take the gap out of play and have a closer shot with more airspace to throw a shot that you're more comfortable with. And we see players do it every year. On this hole, you have no choice. There's nowhere to go. If you wanted to, there's a million ways you could fix this hole. You could make the OB hazard up by the green. You could have an immediate advancement to the drop zone after you go OB once. You could, above the stairs, maybe carve out 15, 20 feet of space that is a layup area for people who want to just pitch up onto the top and then have a more direct shot on more of a flat shot onto the green. There's a lot of things you could do to make this right, but instead they just made it as punishing as possible and gave no leeway with stroke and distance. And so then you have, the world number one is crying on the hole. And some people are probably like, yeah, I love it. Like, punish them. But to me, this is not fun disc golf that I want to watch. And I'm fine with the overall shape of the hole. I'm fine with the general concept of the hole. I'm fine with players taking triple bogeys. But there needs to be a way to play the hole more safely. And there is no way to do that right now.
Yeah. Charlie, here's my suggestion of how you fix this hole that makes it real easy. Put the basket just in front of the stairs, keep the back hill OB so you can't blast it into it, and just get the distance just right that little OB cutout in the middle of the fairway creates a risk reward. Do you want the easy upshot past that zone, or do you lay up short, play for par?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's an interesting hole. It's easy. And you don't, and then you don't have this excuse of like, oh, but it's not safe and there's a pond and we don't want people going, like, just don't use that back zone then. Cut 150 feet off and put it in front of the stairs. You have an interesting hole.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, there's a lot of ways to solve the problem. It doesn't feel like this was play tested. And I honestly wonder if this is going to sour the TDs on using this course.
Well, it might.
Because I didn't think that this was like a tremendously entertaining course otherwise. I didn't find it that way. I didn't find it that way for U.S. Women's last year.
No.
And I didn't find it that way this year. And then on top of that, you have this, like, everyone's talking about hole 18, Sprinkle Valley, instead of everything else exciting that happened at this tournament.
We've got our article up on Ultra World Disc Golf. You can go find that. That has a lot of these stats and some of the images. But the example is after last year, the tournament director, tournament staff, did they talk to the players or just yell more like Kylo Ren ordering a bombardment of Luke Skywalker? And that is just such a like great visual example that I cannot get that out of my head.
I mean, I'll just note, like, we got multiple emails from people who are locals, and they said, I love this course, Sprinkle Valley. It's great to play as an amateur player. It's great to get a beer and hang out and play the course, and it's not fit for the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Multiple different people said the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe true. It's not like we saw great reviews of this course from players.
No. Well, and any chance you had at getting goodwill got blown up on and died on the hole 18.
Man, it's like, why would you take the hardest hole and make it harder? That doesn't make sense. It's already the hardest hole on tour. I don't know. I do think it is worth asking why that shot is like, that's the hard thing that I've had a hard time figuring out. Like, it's not that far.
No,
It's not, it is blind, which
Yeah.
always makes things harder.
yeah,
But I feel like there's just some combination of the angle of the shot and the distance of the shot, the tightness of the tunnel, and the prevailing wind that makes it incredibly hard. And I'm sure that I could not make that shot. I am
No,
sure
no,
that
I
like if
know I
you're
couldn't.
sitting at home saying, "Well, I could execute," no, you couldn't. Like these players, the 940 plus rated players on the FPO professional scene who practiced the course multiple times failed this hole spectacularly, almost 3 strokes over par on average.
Yeah, but to your point, Charlie, I think the problem is that there isn't enough room to throw any sort of a hyzer shot. So it must be flex shot, nose up, into wind on a green that is smaller than circle 1. How are you how are you supposed to how do you use your angle control to stick a green? That means your goal is to try and land flat. And that is so hard. That is so hard.
It's very hard. I would like to give a shout out to the following players: Rebecca Cox, Evelina Salonen, Heidi Leina, Kat Murch, and Chantel Budinsky, who all got a birdie on 18.
Charlie, I'd like to extend that shout out. Alexis Montejano, Hannah Blomroos, Rebecca Dawn. Hold on, I gotta get over to round 1. My apologies. And then we have Emma Arp, Leah Sinigini, Kelly Foster, Ella Hansen, Katrina Allen, Sarah Hokum, and Owen Scoggins, who also managed to get a par on that hole.
And
Congratulations.
that was the sum total of the birdies and pars on hole 18. And yeah, I mean, crazy hole.
That was.
But when all the pros hate it and it's statistically playing this hard, it's just not the correct design. And like, I see people saying, who cares if they hate it? Challenge the pros. I agree to an extent, but there needs to be a way to play hole more safely than this. That is my biggest complaint. So however you want to fix that, like, make it an option, right? It's like if someone can't make an elevated basket putt, they can lay up and tap in.
Yeah.
If someone can't execute this shot, they just automatically take a 12.
Yeah.
What? That's not the right way to design a hole. So
No.
okay,
We're done. Never again.
let us know your thoughts. Upshot at ultiworld.com.
Oh, no.
We
Don't
probably
make me
won't
do this
talk
on
about
Thursday.
it again, but if somebody sends in something insightful, we may. Let's take a break. When we come back, what do we got? We got Pursewatch and picks, of course. We also got some emails to get to, so stay with us. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. And look, they got a fully stocked website right now. You can get yourself a Rufus, like I carry. Just a great size bag, not too big, not too small, plenty of room for all your stuff, super lightweight. I love it. You get a Vagabond. You want something a little bit smaller, shoulder carry bag? They got them in stock right now, 5 different colorways. Brand new Octothorpes and Octahauls, fully redesigned for 2025. Available now for pre-order. They start shipping in just over a month. And then, of course, you can get a custom version of any of these bags through the custom pack builder. Rainflies, brand new Hydra Pack that fits in the bottom of the Octothorpe, so it provides lumbar support. Awesome idea, great change. They're always innovating. Go over to pounddiscgolf.com, check out all the options, and grab yourself the best bag that you'll ever carry. welcome back to the Upshot. We've got some mail to dig into. Got a few great emails following the Open at Austin. So, Josh, I'll throw it to you. Grab the first letter.
Yeah, I'm going to grab one from Scott, who's an Austin local. Two things in here that I thought were interesting and wanted to share. Number one, he was talking about the fact that some of the organizers, local organizers at least, were looking and interested in trying to get alternate pins at Harvey Penick so that it could run as essentially a standalone 4-round course in order to continue to maintain an Elite Plus status down in Texas. I am always skeptical of same course being played 4 times, but if you could make enough substantial changes with alternate pin positions that it feels unique each day or between the two layouts, we said this on the Rapid Reacts. I have been talk about a prime example of a tournament taking a course that was dead on arrival. I mean, that course 2 years ago was
brutal,
horrific, and it is now genuinely enjoyable to watch. And I would be interested. I'm willing. I think that they have earned my trust to put together a layout that is 2 or 4 rounds on the same course. And I don't grant that very often.
With 2 pin positions.
With 2 pin positions.
Listen, I have been clamoring for this.
Yes.
Like, we've seen tournaments do 3 or 4 holes, right?
Charlie, do you need a minute to get on your soapbox real quick?
I don't need to say more. Like, just do it, somebody. Just do it. Just figure it out. Just do it. Like, let's do it. Like, let us try it. If maybe it sucks. Maybe we're like, yeah, wasn't worth the hype.
Yeah.
Maybe it's great. Maybe it makes it, because like there's something about seeing a hole played, but like the challenge changing a little bit, and I just want to see that. Like, think about how when you play a local course that has multiple pin positions, how much fun it is to play the yellows versus the whites.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the hole feels similar, but the way you're throwing your shots, the challenge of the, approach shot can change dramatically.
Yep.
You can change things from a par 3 to a par 4 in some cases. Now, it is more challenging to do this at the pro level than it is on a, 900 rated course. But I still think like we should see some set of TDs to say, hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it for next year.
Yeah. The other note is he said that hole 4, which my favorite hole of this tournament, is both excellent and fun to play, but it's also just fantastic spectating. And I think that's what I like about Harvey Penick, is that really a lot of the like most important holes have some really spectacular spectating opportunities while still being technical. And that's a nice feature. It's something that we don't have on every course on tour. So I appreciate Scott writing in, local Austin native, and sharing his thoughts.
Yeah. Also basically, and this was a theme in the emails we got this week, just like Sprinkle Valley, not a great spectator course.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people saying amazing course to play. You must go if you go to Austin. You're going to have a great time. But as a pro tour course, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not sure that we should be back there. All right. Let's see. I've got Clinton's email here. Was out at the course. Went to both rounds 2 and 3.
He does note he is a Texan with 0 cowboy hats, which means the Finnish cowboy has 2 more cowboy hats than Clinton has.
I can't imagine there are many people out there that have 2 cowboy hats. 2 plus.
2 plus.
Unless they're actual cowboys.
Right.
Even those guys might only have 1 hat.
I don't know how many. What is customary for a cowboy to own a cowboy hat?
He said it was, spectating was not super easy at Sprinkle Valley. Didn't love it on the tour, but they had a great time. It was beautiful. Free parking, not too expensive to get in, lots of food vendors, big bar, good times. And, it maybe Sprinkle Valley wants to keep working on the layout for pros. It could get there because they have everything else that you want, but like the spectating and the course itself is not quite meeting the standard of the tour.
Here's what you do real fast, Charlie. Sorry.
Yep. Go.
You run flex start amateur events on the first 3 days at Sprinkle Valley and have tons of event stuff, food, vendors, drinks, games, contests, raffles, and you run that simultaneous to the Pro Tour, keeping things ending around, when the lead card's reaching the back nine. Awesome event.
I like the concept. Harvey Penick review. Loved watching the course. Easy to see the shots. Great spectating, but complained. Didn't have a problem for the paying for parking and whatnot, but was very disappointed with the amenities. There was only one food vendor, says Clinton. They could have filled a bag with discs for every spectator out there, but we waited about a half an hour in the sun to get food. And there was only one line and one order taker at the bar as well. It's like this event, like it had all the stuff, but not all in the right place at the right time.
Right.
It's like you have a puzzle and you have all the pieces, but you can't figure out how to put them together.
Yeah.
Austin deserves to have like a top tier Pro Tour event. And I don't know quite what we need to do, but it still wasn't there for me this year.
Yeah, I liked it better as a 3-round, definitely, from last year. But also have a cut after 3 rounds so you don't have weather issues. Anyway, last email we've got is a little bit more specific here. This comes from Mitch, who talks about Gannon. He says that he hasn't ever been a huge fan of Gannon. He finds his off-the-course stuff charming, and specifically highlights his interviews, which is some of the best interviews that we ever get on here on the Upshot. But he has strongly disliked kind of the whininess on the course. And this is a theme that we've seen in emails for the past couple of years. But Mitch then says, we haven't seen a ton of this year, or at least compared to last year until the Open. It seemed obvious to me that he has really internalized criticism of his maturity on the course and is consciously working on having a better demeanor, both when he struggles and when celebrating with the crowd when he makes impressive throws. It's a long season, but man, it makes it so much easier to root for him.
I mean, people have been talking about this with Kyle Klein from this weekend, who was very grumpy, has a similar kind of like whininess to his game.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that Discmania doesn't only have whiny players on their team. But mostly this doesn't bother me in general. Like as a fan, like I'm not really worried about it, but I get that it is off-putting, but a lot of pros whine. A lot, including very, very, very popular players like Simon Lizotte, who can be extremely whiny at times on the course. And, I don't know, I relate. Because when I throw a putt that I think should go in and it doesn't go in, I'm starting muttering to myself, and like, I get it. But I do think it would be wise for these players to recognize that they are not just playing disc golf, they are a sports figure. And Luka Doncic doesn't win all that many fans at times because of his attitude on the court. And Josh, as a Laker fan, like, how are you feeling about that? I can't say that I've been watching that many Laker games, so I haven't really seen the vibes, but
I actually think the vibes have been better since he switched. It's I don't know. It's been.
Give it time, Josh. Give it time.
I'm sure it'll come. I am sure it will come. I almost wonder if LeBron just like sat him down and is like, listen, we're not having that anymore. Though LeBron is accused of this as well. You know what I think it really is? I think 95% of professional athletes whine. It's just that you see the guys who are the biggest stars the most, and so you perceive them as being whinier, right? When you see Gannon for 2 to 3 rounds of coverage every single weekend, of course you're going to see more of his moments.
But he definitely complains at a higher clip
I agree.
Like, he's like, how is there a branch there? What is that? Like, it was a perfect shot. Where was that branch? Like, dude, no, you hit the branch. Like, the branch has been there. It was always there.
Yes.
You shot too high.
You're absolutely right. But I mean, tell me how he's worse. You bring up Simon. I think great example. Adam Hammis throws discs in baskets and bounces them out. Kyle Klein. The thing about Gannon is that he definitely takes it out on himself pretty regularly, but like Kyle Klein kind of takes it out on other people. And so I don't know. I think part of it is just how much you see Gannon and the age thing and the perception of it. But I'll say, to that point about like the celebration, Gannon's got this thing where he just like twists the disc in his hand now as his wave. And I don't know. I noticed it and I'm like, I kind of like this as your thing. Like if that's your thing, like I kind of dig this. Like this is good with me.
Yeah. I think, all those players, right, working on dealing with their emotions on the course. And like, if you want to be frustrated, like go over to your bag and like mutter into your bag. Like, don't immediately complain after a shot while you're still on camera, right? When the cameras go off, and if you can't take it and you have to complain, go wait until the next guy's on the tee and the cameras are off you, and then you can do whatever you want.
Do you remember when we were making fun of Gannon for the whale sack where he'd pick up the chalk bag, drop the chalk bag, and he made a video overlaid to you saying that? I'm just imagining now a Squatch ad where it's like bags where no one can hear you scream, and Gannon just shoves his head in his bag and is screaming after he misses a putt.
That's actually a pretty good like ad concept. I like it.
Right? All right. That'd be kind of funny. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go, Squatch.
Let's go to Pursewatch. First DGPT Plus of the year, and it did hit the 100,000K mark. $100,810 total purse. 11,650 to Nicholas Antila and 7,650 over to Holland Handley. almost 16% up year over year compared to 2024. And did come in, Josh, a little bit above Waco's DGPT Plus number last year. They were both right at 100,000, but $600 more than Waco.
It sounds like the $100,000 mark is a requirement to be a DGPT a plus or elite elite plus or playoff event is basically what we're seeing there.
It sounds right to me.
Yeah.
No surprise, it's the biggest purse of the year. $630 per person. Very solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we do picks, Charlie?
Let's take a look. How'd it go?
Well, I'm pretty pleased. I finally am getting some points back on you, and I take the lead between the two of us.
Yeah,
though I
struggled.
We are both in like the 40s on the leaderboard. We're getting cooked. We'll come back to that.
Here's our picks. We'll throw them up on the screen on YouTube. This page comes from our Upshot picks page, which is at discgolf.ultiworld.com/upshot-picks. Josh, break it down for us.
Yeah. We had we almost had identical picks in FPO, but you made a pivot last minute and swapped Own for Evelina because of injury concerns.
I doubted the dog.
I tried to doubt the dog, but I was after the deadline, so I ended up keeping Own, and turns out Own got more points than Evelina, who you picked in Owen's place. So thankfully, the Discord wouldn't let me swap.
Conference is like, I'm not going to be throwing forehand. I'm injured. I'm not feeling good. Podium.
Liar.
And threw a bazillion forehands.
Threw forehands all over that.
She straight dogged me, dude.
Yeah. Oh man. I think she was just like trying to drive her odds down so that she could go then just like bet on herself.
Yeah. She's over on coolbet.com slamming the European betting markets on herself. I don't think you can bet on podiums, by the way.
Over on MPO. Rough week for you, Charlie.
I've been doing miserably.
1.25 points. Calvin, Andrew Marweed, Evan Smith. Calvin gets 1.25. Andrew Marweed loses a point, though. Evan Smith comes out neutral. I also had Andrew Marweed, but my Gannon pick was able to carry me, giving me 3.5 points. Total 10 points for me, 4.25 for you. Over on our most popular picks, Kristen Lutt was definitely the most popular pick at 92 picks. Owen was second at 33. And then Holland was 27 picks. So shout out to everyone who picked Holland there. On MPO, 44 picked Calvin Heimberg. I just don't get it, man. I don't get why people keep doing it. 40 picks go to Gannon Burr and 30 picks go to Simon Lizotte. That's Simon missing cash. That's tough is the third most picked player.
Oh man. Big shout out. We got, look at this, 2, 4, 6, 8 players picking a perfect podium in FPO. Cradled in the Chains, Rymat 2, Stuart McCrory, DJ Superdoc, Bates God, Hampton, Adover 1283, and Philly Flicks, all picking a perfect podium.
Sick.
So congrats to them. And then the best score by 3 points in MPO this week goes to Dubcon 9988, who had Nicholas, Calvin, and Kyle. I don't know that anybody had that Nicholas Kyle combo besides him. And
no,
that was
no way.
obviously a huge couple of picks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand why. Did none of us believe that the guys who played great here last year were going to play great again? I
guess not.
I think we all overthought it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely did.
But 12 points for Dubcon. So nice job there. And yeah, I've been like being real clever with like, ooh, I'm going to take these players who are going to be worth double points. And like, they had a good showing here last year. And so this is my chance to get doubled point. And I'm taking minuses more often than not. So I think I need to get back to basics here and start just picking the players I think are going to be on the podium, regardless of their multiplier values.
For reference, I am 45th right now in our standings. Charlie is 54th. Subscriber Moonrocks is at the top thanks to a perfect podium at the Supreme Flight Open. And so doing great there.
Moonrocks, our resident odd setter, killing the game right now in the markets. All right. That is going to do it for today's show. We are going to take a look at the first 3 events of the year overall and talk about players and maybe a little stock up, stock down energy, and just kind of see like where do things stand after this first little chunk of the tour as we get ready to head to the Music City Open, not this weekend, but the following, and expect to have some interviews in the next couple shows as well. So if you have thoughts about anything on today's show or anything you want us to talk about in upcoming Mailbag, shoot us an email, upshot@ultiworld.com, and join up as a subscriber, and we'll see you in the Discord. Just go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. We'd love a rate and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. 5 stars, please. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenman saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week. I make it Thursday right here on The Upshot.